Coding challenge review, React beginner first. Question number 1. On the first question, we did that last week, right? Get welcome message. This is the most fundamental question about React. So let's just solve it quickly so then we can move on to more complicated challenges. Welcome to React. Easy, right? 10 seconds. It's not updating. What is not updating? Oh, of course, yes, fantastic. Okay, sorry about that. Yes, brilliant, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I did it on purpose just to see you were paying attention. Cool. So, on that very first question, I hope everybody managed to solve it, right? Welcome to React, welcome to React. Pretty much the same thing, no drama here, all good, yes? So, all good, it works, no problems at all. I don't think, we don't get, oh, missing semicolon, of course, yeah? But that's why it's good, always to review the code, just to make sure you don't do this sort of silly mistakes that eventually make you drop some positions in the charts. Cool. Question number 2. Create a ticketing system. Buy tickets doesn't allow you to use it to proceed. Right, so we have a component called buy tickets, and it receives an object with the user, right? So depending on how old we are, we'll be allowed or not to buy tickets for this, event. So luckily, the component is half created already for us, right? We got a div, we got that condition. What's the technical way to describe that logic, guys? Ternary, correct. This is a ternary operator. If something happens, then do something. Otherwise, else, do something else, yeah? So is if props.user.age is about 18 years old, then what? Then we do enjoy the show, right? So let's put here enjoy the show with exclamation mark at the end, I believe, correct. Otherwise, if you are not 18 yet, sorry, try again once you turn 18. Sorry, try again once you turn 18. Something like that, yeah? Yeah, correct. Anything else, guys? Any typo, any problem? Semicolon where? Anyone thinks we need a semicolon anywhere? Not really, right? Look, return statement, we got the semicolon here. And because this is a JavaScript expression inside of JSX, we don't put semicolons in here. So, let's see if it works. Let me check what you did. So, I mean, that was pretty fundamental, yeah? Interestingly, I can spot some differences here already, different coding styles, yeah? So, look at what Helder did. He removed the div, you see? You see? Yeah. Which is fine. It's good because I don't think it's any better or worse, it's just a different style, yeah? He thought that the parent div, the wrapping div wasn't necessary at all, so he just removed it. Even though that's completely acceptable, the double space, is it one space? Really? Okay. That's a weird space. Anyway, ignore me. So, what else? Yeah, apart from that, everyone did literally the same thing, yeah? Why it didn't work? Obviously, for Florin, because he didn't actually put the messages in place, right? Why it didn't work here? It didn't work. Oh, yes. Look at that structure. That's a bit weird, right? Because we are not evaluating div tags. So here, the solution was more complicated than it was expected to be. That's the test alarm, remember, unless you smoke some fire. So you can compare these two approaches, yeah? Here, the one on the left works, easy. The one on the right doesn't work because of the extra complexity, yeah? Did our solution work or not? I don't know. Yes, it did work. yeah, and no issues at all. So let's move to question number 3. Right, it's pretty much the same thing, right? So we got the component, probably stateless component. It receives, what type of data does it receive, guys? An array of numbers, probably. And then depending on the average, then we should display a message, yeah? So again, fortunately here, half of the problem has been already solved, yeah? We have a function that calculates the average. So we should invoke it, and if the result of invoking getAverage is at least 50, then display well done. If it's below 50, then show keep training, yeah? Same pattern, same principle, just ternary operator. We had to deal with the condition a bit, which is pretty fundamental already. Because we're using curly brackets, we can use, you know, JavaScript, right? If getAverage is greater or equal than 50, then well done, otherwise keep training. Because the expression is short enough, we can put it in one line, making the code shorter. And I think it's quite readable, right? Cool. So, what you did here? Yeah, all good, all good, all good. getAverage. Interesting telling approach here. Is 50. So she created a function to evaluate the condition. I'm not against that. That may help to keep your code readable enough. So I'm not against that. However, what do you think about the name of the function? Is 50. What happens if it's 70? Yeah. Yeah. Naming convention, guys. Here you could say is at least 50. Yeah? Saying is above 50 wouldn't be correct, strictly speaking, because if it's equal to 50, it will also return true. Yeah? Cool. What else? All good, all good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, you can see Florin here, he did it way more complicated, yeah? But it was as simple, Florin, as you can see, as invoking getAverage, and that was it. Right, Walter. He probably got an elegance penalty here, right? Look at this column. It's floating in the middle of nowhere, right? It should be on the right-hand side of the first statement. And yep, so I think it's all good. Any question, guys? No? Great. Question number 4. What we got here? We have a user component that receives an object, right? And then, look, we have to find an element with, what's that? Is it an attribute, class name, tag, ID? Class name, yeah, remember, this is fundamental. So we'll find an element with class name detail, and that element will have, actually no, we'll have 2 elements with class detail. The first one will have the name, and the second one will have the age. Again, fortunately, we got half of the problem already sorted. Yeah? You can imagine that on the intermediate, even though it's not way more complicated than that, you have to write everything by yourself. So, look, we got object.keys. With object.keys, we are iterating on the object, yeah? So object.keys will return what type of data? Array. Correct. An array of what? Of the keys. So it will return an array with 2 strings. Name, comma, age. Yeah? And because we got the keys, if you remember on the JavaScript training objects, beginner, one of the question, number 3 if I'm correct, talk about how to access properties of an object dynamically using this square bracket notation. Do you remember, Davide? We discussed that yesterday. Cool, fantastic. So, because we got the key, then how do we access the value associated to that particular key?
So,
Key. No, wrong. Key is a string, yeah? Key will fail because you're assuming key is an object. Curly brace. Okay, let's put curly brace. I like that starting point. And then what? props dot user inside square bracket, like that, yeah? Yeah, correct. What happened if instead of that, I do that?
It should be able to access. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
I said it was broken beyond.
For me, it doesn't work. I tried that before. It doesn't work.
You think it works?
No.
No. Yes, no. Look, if we do that, JavaScript will try to find a property called key. Do we have any property called key? No. What happens when you don't have any property called key or Brexit? Returns undefined, yeah? So that will display something like name, colon, undefined, yeah? We don't want that. We don't want to access any property called key. We want to interpolate, to transform the key into the actual key of the object. So the way to do that is with square bracket notation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. So I hope that works. No? Why not? Delius? Or you hope it doesn't work?
That was not the guess. If it works, it would be very unfortunate.
Cool. Let me check what you did. So Luigi did literally the same thing. That makes me feel confident that it will work. Yeah, for... Oh, look what happened with Helder. So unfortunate. What's prop details? We don't have any details. What's the name of our property, Helder? User, correct. Correct. All good for Pelling, all good for Nico. Yeah, I mean, these solutions are pretty similar, right? Oh, Vivian. Yeah, that's wrong because of several reasons. First of all, because she's hard coding first name and last name, yeah? Yeah, but despite, on top of that, remember, we don't have any details. We have user, yeah? Cool, all good for Gawa. Here, again, that was overcomplicated. We actually, the second part wasn't necessary, just the first part, because this is part of a loop. You see map, that means it will be repeated for each key. And then in here, key, again, detail doesn't exist. It's props.user. Why props.user? Because that's the property that we are passing to the component. You see, user. Oh, it's gone. Here you go. User. Yeah? Props.user. Remember, that's an important thing. Cool. Question. Let's see if it worked or not. Yeah, it did work. No problem at all. So question number 5. Again, fruit picker. So generally speaking, I'll make an exception today, but once we solve a question, we don't solve it again. If you want to recap how that was solved, then you have to go to YouTube. Yeah? It's a matter of efficiency, a matter of covered new topics. Anyway, because the majority of you, I think everyone apart from someone failed on that one, let's review it again, right? Cool, so we got a combo box, or select component, technically speaking, with a couple of fruits, right? So let's have the options, apple and orange. Let's see if anyone was thinking about bananas today. And then where everybody struggled here was on the way to select an option by default. How we do that, guys? Value. Fantastic. Value props dot no. Props dot what? Props dot selected. Correct. Props dot selected. You're absolutely right. Props dot selected. Yeah, and I think that's it. Pretty simple, isn't it? So, right. All good, all good. Right, again, for Bucket didn't work because she explicitly selected the apple. Yeah. However, in one of the scenarios, we wanted to select the orange. Right, Vivian, what's the empty space here? That's unnecessary, right? I mean, I understand this is completely subtle. That's not relevant at all. I mean, if I complain about empty lines, that's a good thing. That means that there is nothing really important to complain about. Yeah. Cool. all good, all good. And here, oh, for Florin, you forgot to add the selected, yeah? Value equals props.selected. Any question, guys? No? All good? Fantastic. So, yeah, and it works, so all good. Now, let's focus on the next 44 minutes on the intermediates. I'd like to do, let's see if we can do 3 questions, at least 40 minutes, fair enough. So, question number 1, display an input field. I love that. We start talking about complex forms, right? You want to sign up in a platform, first name, last name, email, the classic form, right? How to deal with that. Interestingly, inputs aren't part of conflicts until task number 30 something. Unfortunately, I would say, yeah? But they're a very important aspect of coding, of course. So here, so there are 2 ways to face complex questions. One question is read it until the end and then start thinking about how to solve it. I, generally speaking, maybe because of my TDD, my background in TDD, I prefer to read the test sequentially and then do the first part, then go back to the test, do the second part. So what that means? That means that here I'll read just the first 2 lines. Okay, I need a component called input, and it will have an input type text. That's fine. I don't know what's coming next, but I'll do that for now. Yeah? Because this is a stateful component. How do we add HTML into a stateful component? No, I don't need the constructor for now. No, for now. If you just want to display, render, correct, return, yeah? You see, I'm preparing the test, the structure. And now I need an input. Type text. I can create a div surrounding the input, but I think, because that's the only component, can put it straight away, right? Yeah. Fantastic. Input type equals text, and then we'll see, right? But at least the first part of the problem is solved. Yeah. The when. And then what? Then expect input props value to be Peter. So that means that the value should be Peter by default. Yeah? And then you start thinking that this is not that complicated. However, if we scroll down, next line, get input simulate change. So we're simulating user behavior. The user is interacting with the input, right? That's why input exists, to get some interaction from our customers. And then, so the user is essentially replacing Peter with Olivia. Yeah? Cool. So then I cannot do that, obviously, right? Because then the test will fail. The mechanism needs to be dynamic. In other words, I have to capture the on-change event. So how do we do that? Yes, fair enough. I'm going to add the on-change. And I'll do, first of all, what the majority of you did, which is not correct. Yeah? So I saw the majority of you did. Okay, fair enough. So I'm going to create a state. So whenever the user changes the input, I'll update the state, right? So you did something like that. Constructor, and then super, and then this dot state dot equals something like value Peter, yeah, because of the default. So then here you did this dot state dot value, and on change you did this dot change value, and then here with change value you did this, you received the event, and then you did this dot set state this state value equals e dot target dot value. This is what some of you did, right? So let's recap a bit. So on change, we want to capture the change. Yeah? So that's why we call this set state to update, yeah, the component. Can you tell me, visually speaking, if we had a breakpoint on line number 4, 9, and 13, if that would work, assuming that the code is perfect, again 4, 9, and 13, what will be the execution order? 4, 9, and 13.
So 4,
Billy says 4, Yeah?
13 and 9.
13. Well, we're 14 in reality. Well, because I'm moving lines. Yeah, sorry, I'm moving lines. Yeah, sorry. let me move that to the bottom. Sorry, otherwise it's going to be super confusing. Right. So, still readable? Yeah, I think so. Right. So, Vilius said your bet is 4, 13.
9.
And
once we start amending the text, it will update the state.
okay, fair enough. And then?
The thing is going to be 4, 13, 9, and 13.
Yeah.
So we got Walter 4. Is it again?
13,
Yeah.
9, 13.
Okay, so rewrite it.
Yeah, correct. So Walter is right.
Yeah.
Remember what we explained yesterday. Every time you invoke set state, the component will be re-rendered. That's the reason why you change the state, because you want to refresh the user interface. Even though I will accept that solution as valid, if you get a question in your interview, you may argue that. And the reason is, how is the user typing? Let me change that. Generally speaking, when you interact, you type with your fingers, right? That means that you put one character at a time.
So we can rewrite that.
That's the thing. Based on that mechanism, we don't know. Maybe if the user copy Olivia and paste it, technically speaking, it changed once. But if the user type O, then L, then I, you see the idea? The change value function will be invoked many times. Yeah? Again, that's a subtle thing that is something valuable to consider, I believe. Anyway, all of that is assuming the algorithm is correct. However, if we evaluate it, let me have a quick look to your solutions. I think both Lucia and Davide found the answer, so I'll ignore you for now. Yeah, so look, for instance, Wendy. It's literally what we explained, right? Right? You see the chaos on the space handling in Wendy's solution. On the first line, the space goes on the right. On the second line, the space goes on the left and the right. And on the third line, the space goes on the left, right? So she's covering all the possibilities, and all of them are wrong, I'm afraid. It's not, well, correct. That's another problem. It's very important. Also, remember, JavaScript is case sensitive. So on change, probably React won't like it, yeah? Look, it fails. It does fail. Yeah? It does fail. And then, maybe you've noticed there is a way to get the raw results. Yeah? And here, we got something very, very, very interesting. Probably across this bootcamp, there are 3 key workshops. One was state. The other one is prototypal inheritance. And the other one is lexical dis. Yeah? I've been doing hundreds of interviews in my life. Some senior developers, of course, still struggle to understand what this means. And this is a good example. Yeah? Cannot read property, set state of undefined. Yeah? We'll learn next month why this is happening and why. For now, just bear in mind that every time you want to invoke set state, you cannot call the method like that. That's not legal. There are at least a couple of ways to solve the problem. Maybe you've seen something like that. I know people does that. This dot change value equals this dot change value dot bind this. I don't like that. I find this solution not elegant enough. And the reason is, if tomorrow I change the change value to change input value, I have to change that 3 times. Yeah, I don't like it. I have to add new lines of code to maintain new lines of code. The way, I don't really know why it's not that popular. I can understand some cases it may be not convenient, but for this kind of simple cases, you can simply do that. Look at how sexy this is. That's it, problem solved. Yeah. OnChange calls a function, call the function, receiving the event, yeah? And then, once you call the function, then invoke our function. Yeah? in that way, the problem is solved. And again, next month, we'll explain why. For now, let me see what you did. Actually, look. So Lucia, she did the bind thingy, which still is okay. Yeah? I'm not against that at all. I just find it a bit more complicated. You have to type more, yeah? And for Davide, the same thing, right? So probably you search on Google, and that's what they told you, yeah? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. However, look, it worked for me as well, and I didn't have to add any extra line. Just wrap the call.
The solution, we don't have to put this under plate. There's no need. This under plate, this.
No, 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 look, I didn't. No, look, okay, fair enough. It's still there, you're right. Let me remove it, and let's try again. And you'll see it still works. You've seen that, right? JavaScript versus JavaScript, the good parts. The good parts is just a fraction of the language. Douglas Crackford. Who else? So, yeah, you'll see in a minute that that should work, still returning the correct value. Here you go, you see? Still correct, still valid. Yeah. In my opinion, a slightly better approach.
So, instead of binding, we use just a callback function.
Correct. Yes, just a callback function.
So on the event,
Yeah.
do magic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't need to bind any.
No, you don't need to bind anything because the arrow function respects the value of lexical this, as we'll learn next month. Yeah.
Binding using an arrow function.
Yeah.
You put a normal function.
A classic function. That won't work, as we'll see next. No, it has to be an arrow functions. That's why. Yes, today we still think that arrow functions and classic functions are equivalent. You can switch them, but that's not true in some cases. This is one of them. Don't worry about the details. Just for now, remember the pattern. When you have a callback, use an arrow function to do your magic. If you have one argument, again, the parentheses are not even necessary. Yeah? Cool. Question number 2. What's that? Driver details toggles driver stats. So, right. Again, I'm going to follow the same pattern because if I try to understand everything in one go, it would be a bit too much, right? So let's do baby steps, one thing at a time. So the first thing we know is A. We need a button and we need a label with what that means, guys? Label.details.
Label with a class name.
Correct. Label with class name details. You're right. So let's put these two elements for now. Yeah. Cool. Again, render, and then return, and then can we put the label and the button like that? So first of all, that's not valid in React. Every React component needs a root element. So that means you should surround. Correct. It could be a div, not necessarily a div. It could be a span, a label, whatever. But you know, some element that will be valid from a ESX point of view. However, in modern React, let's see if you accept the expression, right? Like if React was like 20 years old. In modern React, you can also do something quite sexy, which is you can return an array, yeah, with comma-separated list of elements. That will work as well. That avoids creating an artificial div surrounding your content. I'm still not a big fan of that pattern unless you have a good reason for it. So, and we'll explain the differences at some point. Anyway, both are equally valid, technically speaking, so just pick your favorite. We got a button and a label. Remember, the label has a class name, right? Class name detail, I believe. Yeah. And then what else do we know? Details. Details. Yeah. What else do we know? Next line we know. Okay, look. The button, the text of the button is toggle driver details. Fair enough. So toggle driver details. That's the text, yeah, on the button. Cool. What else? And look, next line is very interesting. expect details exist to be false. How do we read that?
Default value.
To be false.
No, not default value. It's not about the value. Look at the exists. Last line, last visible line. Get details don't exist to be false.
So you can put in state, this false. Click
Now, I'm not asking you how to solve it. I'm asking you what that means.
The button is going to be disappear at the beginning.
No, wrong. That's not what they read there. So what they read is the button is there and it has a text, toggle driver details. However, the details, get details is a label, you see, is not visible. It doesn't exist. It's not there. Yeah, so it's invisible. So I believe the idea of the exercise is you have like an online platform where you show details about drivers in this case. So when you click on the button get details, it shows the age, how many championships, or, yeah, or pop up, whatever. Yeah, that's the idea behind the scenes. So whatever that label is, it shouldn't be there, out of the box. Yeah, but I believe that then now, because I don't really get what the plan is, then I'll keep going down. I'll say, okay, then we click on the button, and then the get details is there with some text on it. Yeah, and I think the text will be static. So first of all, I'm going to put that text inside of the details straight away. Yeah. Right? But now I need to dynamically decide if I want to show the details or not. That's the tricky part. That's it. Yeah.
If the button is in the position of false.
Yeah, correct. So let's say the constructor. We need a state. You see, we need a state, right? Because we want to refresh the UI. Every time you want to refresh the UI, you need a state. Constructor. Super. And then this dot state equals something like R details visible. What's the value by default? False, correct. Yeah. So then now we need an if else, sort of. Yeah. There are different ways to do that. If you've done the conditional rendering on beginner React training, you'll have noticed that you can do something very nice, and this is related to the board challenge actually. So you can do this dot state dot R details visible and that. That's to me the easiest way to solve the problem. What that means? That means that if that condition is truthy, then display whatever comes next. If that condition is falsy, then don't display anything. Yeah, I'll show you some examples literally now. So let's play a bit with the Boolean algebra. So I'm going to create a new snippet somewhere, just a random one. I'll zoom it in a second, so don't worry about that. Right, so my question is, if I got apple or banana, what will this snippet return?
True.
So,
Wait, no.
Bilius said true.
I think it's going to return up.
Walter and Davide
If it's true.
says it will return apple. Anyone else? Also Vivian. Yeah? Let's run it. Yeah, right. It returns apple. So this is vital. In JavaScript, when you have the OR operator, yeah, if the first part is truthy, it will return it. A or B returns A if A is truthy. However, what false or banana will return?
I think it's going to return false.
So Walter says it will return false.
In this case, false.
With
So
A.
false is true.
No, it's or. It's an or. False or banana.
In this case, it's false. It's true because it's false.
Banana. So we got Pelin said it will return banana.
Banana as well.
Okay, Pelin and Nico. And
Maybe let's try false.
Walter and Davide. We got 2 blocks here, right? East versus west.
Wait,
Which team are you joining, guys?
oh, wait, can I choose true? Nobody did.
You can select another option, of course, Bilius.
Yeah, because nobody.
Bilius, the independent party goes for true. Fair enough.
No, banana is true.
You think it's false? Correct. Bucket, what do you think? Anyone else? False. So Walter, Davide, Vivian, and Lucia. False. If you want a recommendation, I'll spend as much time as necessary playing with values and trying to figure out what the result will be, because this is super, super important to understand JavaScript. See how simple, yes? 12 characters, that's it. And in that particular case, only Pelin and Nico were right. Yeah? So that will return banana, as you can see on top. Why? Because if you got nothing or 2 pounds, how much money do you have? Yeah? In one pocket, you have nothing. In the one, you got 2 pounds. You got false? No. You got undefined? No. You got 2 pounds. Eh? So this is the way the OR algebra works. We can make it more complicated, of course. What happens if we got false or banana or apple? It will return, so Bilius said it will return banana.
So, if I'm getting this right, it's like, okay, this is statement. It's actually
Yep.
kind of your return statement.
Yeah?
So,
Yeah, it's a return
so
statement,
you
yeah?
have to return like falsy,
Yeah?
which it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah? That's correct.
And every value, if you change banana to 1 or 2,
Yeah.
it will return back.
That's correct. With the OR operator, it will check from left to right until it finds one truthy value. Truthy. Yeah? Is false truthy or not?
False.
No, right? Next one. Is banana truthy or not? Yes, return it. Yeah? What happens if I do something extremely aggressive on the right-hand side? 1 divided by 0. Does 1 divided by 0 make sense? It will blow up my computer and yours as well, probably. Yeah. But however, because luckily we got a truthy condition, this will never be evaluated. So I'll assume that risk of breaking the entire Bermondsey area. Banana, yes, it does work. Yeah. So again, this is absolutely vital. With the OR operator, as soon as the condition is met, it will return it. Yeah. If we put false, then we have a problem, yeah? Because is the first condition truthy? No. Is the second condition truthy? No, because we have only one, return whatever the last condition is. So if we put nil, what will it return? So Walter, there are 2 points on the board challenge. So Walter said false. Lucia said undefined. Pelin said null. Yeah? So Pelin got the jackpot.
Yeah.
Because even though null is falsy, yeah, it's like typing false, it's like typing empty string, whatever. With the OR operator, if everything is falsy, yeah, the last element will be returned. Yeah? So if we try that, you see it returns nil. What if I put an empty string? Empty string, correct. What if I put 0? 0, yeah? Not because it's truthy, it's because it's the last one. Yeah. So this is about and or. But if we talk about and, right? What happens if I put false and true? What will that return?
False.
Correct. False and true is false. And true and true? True. And true and false?
False.
Correct. And true and hello?
True.
So,
Or hello? No, true.
Bilius said true. Walter said hello.
They're both
True. Vivian said true. Nico said hello. Luigi, what do you think? Are you there, Luigi? Right.
Yes, hello. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay.
Right. So the way this works, this is literally the example we are playing. Yeah, it's literally the same thing. That will return hello, of course, because with the AND operator, you don't know if the statement is truthy until the end of the line. Yeah? Remember, true and false returns false. So the way this works is, okay, true. That part is satisfied, it's okay. But let me check what do we have on the right-hand side. Yeah? Then, because that's the last one, it will be returned straight away. Yeah? That's why it returns hello. What if we put hello, true and false, and hello? What will it return? Yeah, correct. So Bilius is right, yeah? Is the first part truthy? Yes. No problem at all. Is the second part truthy? No. Then return it.
And what if instead of 4 we have an empty array?
Empty array. That's a tricky question. That's a very tricky question. Tricky. Is an empty array truthy or falsy? It's truthy. It is truthy. Because even though that looks a bit weird, why an empty string is falsy, but an empty array is truthy?
Because you think you check the length.
No, because an empty array is still a valid address in memory. That's why it's considered truthy. That's why that will return hello. Here you go. And what if I put that?
No, this case. This case, there are no error, so it's
So then what?
So,
false.
2 more points. Last 2 points of the day in the board challenge.
so it's hello?
False.
So Davide said false. Gawa, what do you think? False. Davide and Gawa. And what Helder thinks? Helder, hello. Who else? Walter.
0.
Walter said 0. Anyone else? False. For Pelling and Nico, I believe. That's very interesting. That's very interesting.
I have a question.
Yep.
So let's say, okay, so empty array
Hmm.
length. So let's say empty array returns length 0.
I don't know. What's the length of that array?
0.
It's 0. Is 0 truthy or falsy?
False.
And so what happens when you have true and falsy? No, true and falsy returns 0, the first non-truthy value. Yes, 2 points for Walter. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So remember, true and something returns something, regardless of something is truthy or falsy. So true and 0 returns 0. True and 1 returns 1. Yeah? What true and Brexit returns? Undefined.
Because we don't define a variable.
So last question. Again, last 2 points. If you got points, you cannot participate. Sorry about that. Walter, if you got the points, you cannot participate. Thank you. Right.
This is going to run forever because it's priced.
So Bucket said we'll throw an error. Who else? Right, let's try that. You are right. Brexit is not defined, yeah, which is pretty accurate, by the way. So it throws an error, yeah? Try again in 6 months, maybe. Cool, 2 points for Bucket as well. Fantastic. So again, I've never said that was trivial, but at least there are 3-4 rules, yeah? So my suggestion is spend every day 30 minutes just trying randomly, true and true, model return, yeah? True and hello, true or hello. Yeah? Think about that, think about that. Eventually it will be your second skin because it's seriously, it's easy. Cool, so where are we? Yeah, again, then, here, true and something returns something, yeah? So that means that if RDT visible is truthy, it will return the thing on the right-hand side. And then, on the other way around, if RDT is visible is falsy, false and something returns false, yeah? So that means that if this is not truthy at all, next thing on the right is like 1 divided by 0. It will be ignored. It will never run, yeah? So, based on that, now we can simply add an on-click event on the button, yes? On-click equals, remember to add this trick, yes? Toggle details. So now, yeah? Toggle details. Oh. Why? It's with 2 O's actually. Toggle. Ah, sorry, here. No, actually, it's with 2 O's, right? I think it's with 2 O's. Yeah? Yeah, it's with 2 O's. Yeah? Oh, yes. That's right. Yeah. Is it with 1 O? Well, I type it with 2 all the time then. Anyway, the example, I know it's with 1. You're right. I'm talking bullshit now. Okay, so ignore me. It's 1 O. Toggle details. Yes? 2G. Right, fantastic. Yes, can do it. So toggle details, yes? And then what do we do here? I'll show you, I think we'll run out of time, but I'll show you the 2 ways we can update the state. The classic one, the one you know already, is this dot set state, and then what? What's the value? False? True? Are you sure? If you pay attention to the test, at the bottom, the guy clicks again. So once you click again, if it was visible, now it should be hidden. That's why it's called toggle, right? It swaps on and off.
Exclamation mark.
Exclamation mark, what?
Of the state.
Here, and then what?
And then this state.
Oh, yeah.
This state, is
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Because this line is a bit long, you can always move it, something like that, for readability purposes, yeah?
You cannot, well, I think you can do it, not to put in the name,
Yeah?
to delete everything and put just exclamation mark RDT visible.
Like that?
Yes.
No, that's too optimistic. That's very romantic, Walter. That won't work in 2018 JavaScript. Anyway, that should work. That should work. Remember the trick here, right? You remember that arrow function? We don't even need the event, right? We don't care about it's a button. In an input, we care about the event because we want to capture the new value. But if it's a button, we're just interested on whether it has been clicked or not. Will this work or not, guys? That won't work. I'll give you a hint. Line number 17. No, we don't need E, no. No, the quad value. There is no value. There are no inputs. We just want to capture the user click.
And you have to put this toggle.
That's correct. That's the problem. Toggle details, that's a method which is part of the React class, right? To invoke methods, as we explained before, remember to put these dots. Yeah, that's the way you access private methods, if you, not necessarily private, but internal methods of the class. Yeah. So even though that should work, let me see if you did anything here in question number 2. Wow, that was very complicated. Yeah, so Lucia tried to build
I just start
data. Okay.
Putting everything there. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a good idea.
Yeah. Anyway, remember the on-click thingy, yes?
Yeah.
The callback function is very important. And I'll have a look to that in a second. Oops, can close that. Yes, lip. So, yeah, you see it works, right? So that solution is absolutely fine. It's not that complicated, right? However, let me show you a different alternative. When we invoke setState, we can pass an object like we are doing here, yeah, with the new properties. There is a different alternative. There is a different way of using setState, which is using a callback function. So we can do, in that case, we'll be probably a bit simpler. This dot set state, and that will receive a function with the previous state. Why this is convenient? Because now we can return the new object saying, what properties do you want to change? Oops. Are details visible equals, like that. It's not a big advantage, to be honest, but just to let you know that this is an alternative. With setState, you can pass a function with whatever the state was, yeah, and then, yeah, that's it, yeah. However, even though this is not that beneficial, I would like to show you another alternative. This is still related to something that Walter mentioned a couple of minutes ago. So if I had to do that, I will do that. I will create a variable. This is my coding style, eh? Are details visible equals. So first of all, yeah, why? You'll say, why you are doing that? Because now we can do two things. First of all, you can do that, and then you will say, hey, but this is not, it's pretty much the same thing, yeah? Where is the benefit of doing that? The benefit is, as we'll learn in a future workshop, with modern JavaScript, we can apply something called, let me rephrase that, object shorthand. Object shorthand means when you have a key and the value of the key is the same as the key, you see, the same text on the left and on the right, yeah, you can just remove it. Yeah? That pattern is very powerful in React. It's very powerful in React, yeah, and we'll see when and how. Yeah, but for now, if you ever see that structure, curly brackets, and then a variable without a colon, it looks like an object, but this is not an object, right? Where is the colon? Yeah, so that's still valid. So if we evaluate that, then it will hopefully work. And for David, I didn't. Yeah, the idea, it wasn't bad at all, but again, the main issue was the on-click. Yes, that won't work. That will throw an error because of the callback function.
I was reading.
Yeah, but anyway, we were pretty close. So yes, well done. So yeah, let's see if that works, and then we'll call it a day. Here you go. Yes, it does work. Yeah. So yes, again, to show you the snippet, in case anyone wants to take it into consideration for future development. Anything else, guys? No? So I hope you enjoy the flavor of intermediate React training. Yeah. This is still sweet sour, right? Like sweet sour chicken, you know, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, sweet sour, right? Once we talk about expert, it will be spicy, chili. Yeah? Cool. Thank you, guys. Cheers.